Welcome to the 707, a weekly half-hour program produced by KRCB, a service of NorCal Public Media. The 707 features voices and stories from your community, stories that inspire, stories that delve into our rich history, and stories that show how we are connected to each other. I'm your host, Michelle Marquis. Our lives seem to rush by quicker and quicker these days with everything and everyone in a hurry. But there's one thing that feels relaxed and timeless: summer baseball. In today's episode of the 707, we'll head back more than 100 years when a group of Northern California ag workers got together to enjoy America's pastime.
The Prune Packers started in 1921, but people have been playing baseball in Healdsburg, since like the 1860s.
And we'll learn how that tradition continues today with college athletes from around the country spending 3 months each summer in Healdsburg.
I didn't really know much about the city of Healdsburg in general. I'd never heard of it. Heard it was in wine country, so that was pretty cool. I've heard wine country was beautiful.
We'll hear from host families who invite these young players to stay in their homes for the summer.
We had some friends that were hosting Prune Packers, so they hosted some players. Oh, you should do it, and we're like, okay, and we did. And from Coach Joey Gomes, who is building a winning reputation within the new Pacific Empire League.
I was just hanging out with the Healdsburg school kids, and I guess I shouldn't be shocked about this, but like every single kid knew who the Prune Packers were.
Meet the Healdsburg Prune Packers.
Healdsburg has a really deep, rich history of prune growing. The three main crops were prunes, grapes, and hops. And then when Prohibition came, it knocked out grapes and it knocked out hops, which were used for beer. So prunes kind of rose to be the dominant crop in about 1920s and kind of carried through to the 1970s. In the 1920s Chamber of Commerce, they advertised to try to come up with a slogan for the city of Healdsburg, and that's when Healdsburg became known as Healdsburg, the buckle of the prune belt.
What? That's amazing.
I swear, yes. Yes. So prunes were like a really strong identity for Healdsburg.
That's Holly Hoods, Executive Director and Curator of the Healdsburg Museum. She says there were lots of canneries and fruit packing houses that popped up in Healdsburg once the railroad arrived. Goods grown and processed here would travel on trains to markets around the country. And baseball was a popular sport in the area from the 1860s on. Workers would form teams, kind of like company softball teams do today.
The mechanics against the clerks, the bartenders against the farmers. And as early as 1917, it was cannery workers versus other fruit packers.
Hood says the two passions, prunes and baseball, officially came together at a field northeast of the Healdsburg Plaza.
In 1921, Recreation Park was dedicated as a baseball field. So the Prune Packers were the first team and the first baseball field.
I asked Hoods if the team had a mascot.
They really were very fond of the prune, but they didn't really get to using it as like a logo until like the early 1950s. So they had things like a decal and pins that you could wear that had a picture of an actual prune and then like the word Packers written on the prune. If they'd had a mascot, imagine what it would have looked like, though.
Just a shriveled, weird guy running around.
Yeah. Yeah, be glad they didn't have a mascot.
Right.
The pins are bad enough.
Hood says the Prune Packers welcomed an African-American baseball team from Oakland to Rec Park for games at a time when the U.S. was very segregated.
They came with their own jazz band, and they played in the 1920s to about 1924. These were like integrated baseball games that got people playing together, that got the audiences integrated, and really was like a heyday in early baseball history. And the Pierce-colored Giants, notice that they had to say colored in the title of the team. It was an all-black baseball team. Not all of the other teams were open to playing them. But the Prune Packers and Healdsburg were really supportive and interested, and ball team would bring their jazz band, and then they also would have a dance in town at the clubhouse here in town.
The Healdsburg Museum has a collection of Prune Packers history, including jerseys, gloves, promotional material, photos, and something every team needs.
In the 50s, to promote the local team, they made baseball cards of the Prune Packers, a whole set of each player on the team.
Baseball cards. Who doesn't love those?
I know.
I wonder if they came with prune-flavored gum. In the next segment of the 707, you'll meet Maddox Molony, a 2024 Prune Packer. This is KRCB.
KRCB is Sonoma County's NPR station, featuring the voices, sounds, and culture that make our home unique. From the heartwarming tales of postcards.
My grandmother was the founder of Juneteenth in Sonoma County.
To the Arts Briefs series shining a spotlight on the incredible youth in the arts scene.
Mariachi can express everything that you feel.
And farm tales.
We live in this beautiful area that allows all forms of success in agriculture.
Your stories, your station. KRCB 104.9, Sonoma County's NPR station.
Welcome back to the 707 on KRCB. In 2024, University of Oregon infielder Maddox Molony spent his summer as a prune packer, but for the rest of the year, he's a duck.
I mean, coming from Oregon, it's not very sunny all the time. It's not very warm. So you get down there and it's 90 degrees and sunny and dry heat. And it was almost like a vacation when I first got there. But then I realized we have a season to prepare for and win. So I had to get away from the vacation mindset, but it was just beautiful. That was my first impression.
Players are matched with host families for the season, and Maddox stayed with the first family of Healdsburg, Mayor David Hagele, his wife Lori, and their two kids, Charlotte and Jackson.
I couldn't have asked for a better host family. Spending 3 months in a place that you don't really know, it can be hard unless you have family, and they did a really good job making me feel like family. By the end of the summer, I was happy enough to call them family.
Of course, players come here to improve their skills, and Maddox says the schedule is intense.
We would have 6 games a week, and I would usually play 5 out of the 6. It was basically every day, and we would show up to the field early and leave the field late. It was a full day of baseball. We had our individual work, we had our game, and then we had our meetings after. It was a big time commitment, but the Prune Packers made it a lot of fun. Obviously, they have a lot of themes for games. We have 4th of July where we dress up before. It was a super fun environment that made the hard work a little easier.
My video call with Maddox was supposed to also include his host dad, Healdsburg Mayor David Hagele, but somehow we got confused on timing. Then Maddox pulled out his cell phone and got the Hagele family on the call. You're saving the day here, just like saving a game. That's fantastic.
Yes,
and then we can tell him that we talked crap about him. That'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, there he is.
Mayor Hagele and his kids Jackson and Charlotte appear on screen in the spare bedroom of their home. The reunion is a little chaotic, and it's sweet as Maddox says hi to his host siblings and asks if 12-year-old Jackson's voice got deeper, and everyone is talking over each other.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Hi.
What's up, Jackson?
Hi.
Let me see.
Well, that's one thing that we didn't talk about, Maddox.
Did his voice get deeper?
That you ended up with host siblings, right?
Yeah, I did. It was great. It was my second family. I had a little sister and a little brother. The Hagele family started hosting players in 2023.
The first year we had a pitcher from Texas A&M named Wyatt Tucker, who pitched in the College World Series, and that was kind of fun. And then the following year, we got Maddox, which he played almost every day, so we didn't see him quite as much. Pitchers have a lot of spare time.
This is true.
Mayor Hagele says he was nervous about hosting a college student in his home the first time because he wasn't sure what to expect, but was very pleased, especially with the effect it had on his children.
I mean, Jackson's 12, Charlotte's 13. So you go back 2 years ago, I don't think we were talking about colleges or where you want to go to school and things like that. And talking to not just Wyatt and Maddox, but the other players on the team. Oh, there's so-and-so's from Tennessee, so-and-so. So you start looking up the different schools. We went through an exercise after the first season where Jackson was like, oh, I want to go to Vanderbilt. I was like, all right, well, what's involved to get in there? And you start looking at, those kind of conversations that I was having with a 9 and 10-year-old. that's where I saw the real impact with the kids, like just really thinking further out. What they're doing now matters to where they want to go.
The Prune Packers are now an even bigger part of the Hagele family as Charlotte started volunteering for the team.
I'm at all the games and I get there for most of the practices just because I have to be there early to set up because I help run the game management.
Yeah, she ended up volunteering. Jackson was really into baseball and she's kind of bored. And I said, well, why don't you see if there's something you could do? And that was the first season, right? And then she ended up going and putting up all the banners, taking them all down, put the flags up, taking them all down. And it was really valuable from that standpoint.
I asked Mayor Hagele what kind of challenges they faced as a host family, and his son Jackson answers first.
Buying all the food.
No, not really any challenges. Like if I was to tell other people, there's some minor adjustments because now you have somebody living in your house. It's not like we have a big house. This is actually, Maddox, does this remind you? Because your old room.
That's where I lived for 3 months.
Yeah, and we're actually it's my office when he's not here. I think that would probably be the challenge. I think there's more rewards than anything. We went to a lot of Prune Packer games, obviously, because Charlotte's working there. It's a very fun, wholesome, small town environment just going to Prune Packer games.
Host family applications are available on the team website at prunepackers.org. In the next segment, you'll hear how the Packers have quickly become one of the best teams in Division I baseball. You're listening to the 707 on KRCB.
KRCB is Sonoma County's NPR station. Wondering what makes us stand out? It's simple, our unwavering commitment to this community. Morning Music, hosted by Brian Griffith, sets the perfect tone for your day.
Brian here with you on Sonoma County's NPR station.
As the sun climbs high, join Doug Jane for Midday Music.
Doug Jane with you. Thanks for tuning in.
It's the soundtrack of Sonoma County. Then, stay informed with All Things Considered, featuring insightful reporting from the KRCB newsroom, ensuring you're always in the loop.
For Manzana, the company that helped keep Sebastopol's famous Gravenstein apple alive, their 103rd year in business will be their last.
Your home for the best in local news and music. Because when the community sings, we're here to listen. Your radio, your stories, your station. KRCB 104.9, Sonoma County's NPR station.
This is the 707 on KRCB. Joey Gomes is the GM and head coach for the Healdsburg Prune Packers and has baseball in his blood. Born and raised in Petaluma, California, he excelled in baseball at Casa Grande High School and Santa Clara University, then played 10 professional seasons in the minor leagues with impressive stats, a career batting average of 300 with 101 home runs and 526 RBI. His career as a coach has been equally impressive. The Healdsburg Prune Packers, under the guidance of Coach Gomes, have consistently won championships year after year.
In my athletic background as a former professional player, it's like I understand a lot more when the manager or the GM gets interviewed because it's almost like taboo to talk about what's going to happen as if it's like a jinx, but you have to do it. And I pinch myself so much when I just think about, for those listening, how challenging it is to win, how difficult it is to win and to be on a consistent basis and to see our 4 consecutive state championships. It's truly, God, everything I say is going to get recorded. It's a dynasty, though. It's really a dynasty, and we're at the peak of that right now.
The team is part of the newly formed Pacific Empire League, and Coach Gomes says the program is a great opportunity for players to build on their skills while staying with host families during the season.
Instead of studying abroad, like other students get the opportunity to do, these scholarship student athletes are placed with us in our program. So they fly from all over the country. We've had kids from Mexico and Canada. In fact, we're going to have 2 kids from Canada on our team this year. And they extend almost as a study abroad opportunity. They live in Healdsburg and surrounding towns in Healdsburg for 2 months, and we play baseball.
These scholarship student athletes are placed on summer teams to improve their skills on the field, but also to mature and learn more about the world and themselves.
Historically, the majority of these kids would play in the Midwest, the Northeast, or Alaska. And since the evolution, if you will, of the Healdsburg Prune Packers in 2014, right after our first summer, guys were going back to their schools, initiating conversations with their coaching staff. And like, no offense to our friends in the Midwest, but it was like, instead of sending me to Duluth or Kenosha, Wisconsin, can I please go to the heart of the wine country in Healdsburg and play for the Prune Packers? And that word spread like wildfire amongst the Division I schools, where these kids are now the coaches. I'm honest, I don't even recruit. The coaches call me and said, would you please take these 2 players or these 3 players?
Coach Gomes says these athletes are making meaningful connections with their host families.
One of our host families has actually been going to Lubbock, Texas to go watch the kid play at Texas Tech the last 3 years. We just had a former major league pitcher, Steve Wilson, and his fiancee come back to Healdsburg, visit their host family, and go wine tasting. And Steve Wilson was on our team in 2014 and 2015. So we're talking like a good 10, 11 years later, this bond and this relationship is still strong. A lot of these kids, not only their first time in California, but their first time in the wine country. And we have such an abundant amount of beauty to show off to these kids. And that's something that Natalie has just really locked in on and done a beautiful job of getting these kids out of just seeing a baseball field, a gym, and getting them to go see our hiking trails, our wineries, our restaurants.
Natalie Norman is the CEO of the Healdsburg Prune Packers and president of the Pacific Empire League.
Packer Nation is really in itself a giant family, and our host families are like a family within that, if that makes sense. So we took the kids out, and they got to spend a day out touring the vineyards. The players have an amazing, memorable day. They get to see scenery that's some of the most breathtaking in the world, really. And it's our way of giving back to the players so that we enrich them in every way when they come and take part in baseball here in Sonoma County.
Besides getting to know Sonoma wine country, players are also taking on the role of big brother in host families that have younger children. Norman says this is another unexpected benefit that comes from homestays.
Part of our mission, our core mission, is not only to provide these wonderful opportunities for the athletes that come and join the team, but it's also to inspire and be role models for our local youth. Most of our host families have young children. They absolutely love it. They essentially adopt a brother when the players come and stay with them.
Coach Gomes agrees and says he gets incredible feedback from host families.
During game day, I'm stretched completely thin, but they will find time to come up where I sit down and just acknowledge, thank you so much for having this team and these players. My children absolutely adore their Prune Packer player. One of the most challenging things a lot of our athletes in Sonoma County will come with is just how challenging and demanding on the academic, timing, and athletic side to be a Division I student athlete. So just having that type of a young role model in your house is basically just another positive voice. It goes both ways. Everyone wins when you host a Prune Packer.
You're listening to the 707 on KRCB. We'll be right back.
I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News with a little something to kickstart your mornings. Sonoma First News is a weekday morning podcast with the top local stories and weather updates from across Sonoma County. From Petaluma to Bodega Bay, Sonoma First News has you covered. Subscribe now through KRCB's website, on the NorCal mobile app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Sonoma First News from Sonoma County's NPR station, KRCB FM.
Welcome back to the 707 on KRCB. I asked Coach Joey Gomes if his players become Sonoma County ambassadors after their stay here.
When the players come here, not a lot of them know where they're going. They either think California, skateboards, palm trees, in oceans and beaches. Then they come, they see Sonoma, West Petaluma, Healdsburg, Windsor, Geyserville. They come and they immerse themselves in the areas. And you're exactly right. They tell their families, they tell their friends. I could tell you the number is in the hundreds on the amount of players and families that have come out and visited Healdsburg only to return to Sonoma County multiple times for vacations. And I know because they hit me up all the time and they're like, "Hi, Joey, this is Blake from Virginia. I'm in town for the week with my family. Do you want to meet us out for lunch?" And in the off season, my schedule sometimes fills up with just ex-players and their families and friends out on vacation. And they absolutely become ambassadors to our area.
Attending a Prune Packers game at Art McCaffrey Field in Rec Park is a trip back in time, according to Coach Gomes.
The best way I can describe Rec Park is nostalgic Americana. Baseball stadiums in the 20s through the 50s, before they were modernized, were predominantly made of wood. But you get the cotton candy Sonoma County sky, the twilight cotton candy sky. So you got the pinks and the blues, the lights turn on. And when you hear the pop of the glove or the crack of the bat from the wood, it just echoes. I have heard numerous times from scouts that come from all over the country to come scout these players. They always tell me a story of when they were a kid or when their grandpa would talk about playing at old Yankee Stadium. One of the scouts was talking about how his grandpa played at Yankee Stadium, and it actually reminded him of that with the sights, the sounds. I think if Norman Rockwell was alive, he would probably make a painting of a Prune Packer game.
League play starts in June, and you can find more info about the team as well as details on becoming a host family at prunepackers.org. I'm your host and producer of this program, Michelle Marquis. This show is a service of NorCal Public Media. Our president and CEO is Darren Lachelle. A note on one of the guests featured in this episode. I referred to David Hagele as the mayor of Healdsburg. He has been the mayor of Healdsburg. He is not currently the mayor of Healdsburg. He was mayor at the time that Maddox Molony stayed with the Hagele family.